Yeah.
Hi, Wendy. How are you today?
Hey, good. Thank you. How are you?
Good. Now, that is a warm welcome if I had not heard it before. I love it whenever I talk to you that you have this abundance of energy that just exudes from you. And it's honestly infectious for me because I people constantly say to me, "Oh my God, you have so much energy. I can't keep up with you." And I think I've met somebody that has way more energy than me.
Only during the day, but when nighttime comes, literally, I'm like, huh, like it's so funny. Like, but in the morning and during the day, I have this energy, but like literally at night, I like crash.
Okay, so all I have to say is, do you have coffee or matcha all through the day?
Not at all. Not at all. I only have 2 cups of coffee early in the morning, and I never drink it at night or during the day.
So you were just born that way.
Well, I just have a lot of energy. I've been a vegetarian my whole life, so I'm very careful on what I eat. And, I work out 3 times a week, and I just have this very much, healthy attitude. I don't allow any negativity in my life, and I just kind of keep going.
I love it. I love it. And that's clearly actually one of the things that drives you to do so well in life and what attracts so many people to you, and why you've been so successful. It's one of the components, one of the many, right?
If I am successful, but yeah, thank you so much.
I love that. Well, I am excited today to be joined by Wendy Diamond. And Wendy is honestly, I don't think I have not interviewed anybody like Wendy. And what I mean by that is most of the women that I've interviewed have been either 1 or 2 time founders. And honestly, when I looked at Wendy's bio, I was like, okay, well, which company do I want to focus on? Because she's accomplished so much. And she's honestly probably like a 4 or 5 time founder and just consistently reinvents herself. And from what I could see, it really comes from the passion within her to bring things to life. And so there are 3 things that I want to focus on. I'm going to have her actually give a larger introduction, but 3 things specifically I want to focus on. First and foremost, she was the founder and also pioneered the pet lifestyle business. I mean, how amazing is that? We know what a huge category that is now. And she did that and the animal rescue world. And she did that by launching Animal Fair Media. So if you follow her feed on Instagram, you will see she is such an animal lover and a dog lover. It's something that I keep looking at going, wow, maybe I should be giving more attention to my dog, my rescue dog.
Yeah.
And the second thing is she invests in women ventures. And she has a company that she founded and she's the CEO of, called LDP Ventures. And so she does that by investing in women-owned and women-funded companies. So any woman that's on this call, obviously, we know that most of you are female entrepreneurs, and she would be an amazing resource for us on that front as well. And the third and very important thing is that she founded Women's International Entrepreneurship Day. And it is actually in 144 countries. And how impressive is that? She did that to actually relieve poverty in these countries, because we know that women are the caregivers in so many of these countries, but they may not have a means or a way to bring their ideas forward. So there is an event actually coming up in May, and she is currently working on that. I'm sure we'll hear more about that from her. But those are just 3 honestly major things. We could just dive into one of them, but we're lucky enough to have her talk about maybe all 3, if not more. So Wendy, I'd love to start by just hearing a little bit more about how did you actually get into this? I mean, because honestly, when I heard your story a while ago, because we've been working with each other on International Women's Entrepreneurship Day, I was like, wow, you don't have the typical background, which is what I love.
Yeah. I mean, so, my story is kind of like funny, right? Like it's a little, everyone's always like, how did you do all this? And, et cetera. So I kind of like to kind of go back to my upbringing, right? I grew up in a small town in Ohio, 2,500 people.
Wow.
And I know people hear that. They're like, you're so New York. And I'm like, no,
you are so New York.
No, I literally come from a little small town in Ohio. And, growing up, I always had animals, and I was always, in a small town, everyone, right? So
Mhm.
it's like, my background says a lot about me. Like, I just love people. I love helping, because I grew up in a small community. I love animals, and so and it was always just that kind of, community that I grew up with that I've taken with me throughout my whole life. Right.
Yeah.
And so growing up, I came from a really nice little town. It was really peaceful. It was beautiful. And sadly, there's some things happened to my parents. And at age 16, I was like sort of like homeless. Like literally,
Wow.
my parents had to go to a home, and because they had mental problems. And literally, like, my life just fell apart at 16. And so it was so cool about it was, I don't know, it's just like inside of me, I've always had resilience, right? And I think what happened was I just got 2 jobs and went to high school, and I slept on my friends' couches and stuff like that. And literally through that, thing, when I graduated from high school, I literally had the worst grades. And my
Mm.
aunt from San Francisco called me, and she's like, where are you going to go to college? And I'm like, I can't go. I had the worst grades. And
Mm.
she's like, listen, we got to figure this out. And she, and we worked on it, and we found a small school in Boston that would accept me. And literally she said, listen, I'll pay for your college, just get a job, spending money, take care of it, and I'll take care of your college. So I
Mm.
literally went, and it was like this old finishing school turned 4-year liberal arts school for women.
Wow, that's so
And there,
cool.
is that so funny? And it was like 300 women at this school. And, the people at this school were from all over the world,
Mhm.
from Indonesia and Turkey. And I hate to say this, but I didn't even know that half these countries existed. You know what I mean? I was, because, again, I didn't focus at school because I had some crazy stuff happen, right? And
Yep.
so anyways, it opened up my whole life to the world,
Mm.
literally in college. And from that experience, I met people from all over the world, people from, like, the president's daughter from Indonesia, to like people from Istanbul and Saudi Arabia and Mexico. And literally, I didn't realize at the time the network I was building,
Isn't that
right? These
amazing?
were like just the friends I had. I didn't understand what it meant that you were the daughter of the president, or I didn't know what it meant that you were, whatever child, you know what I mean, from this big, family in Saudi Arabia, or you're from the royal family of Saudi Arabia. I didn't understand that at all, right? But I created this unbelievable network, because, I am one of these people, I come from Ohio, I value work. I don't expect anything in life, right? Because I knew I was on my own, right?
Mm.
So that, I had nobody to go back to, and I had to work and like just make my way in life. So anyways, after college, I actually moved to Istanbul, Turkey with
Wow.
somebody I was dating. And when I got to Istanbul, Turkey, I had the greatest time. I was with all my friends from college from Turkey. And, I realized, oh my gosh, I'm never going to learn Turkish. And I was just like, oh, I can't live here, whatever. And I decided from there to move to Russia. Good timing, right? Right. Like, as we talk about it
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, so fast forward from there, I ran into a friend of mine I went to college with in Boston, and he, was Russian, and we were talking, and he asked me, what am I doing? And that day I went to a factory of a friend of mine in Turkey, and who manufactures a lot of like Armani and a lot of the different designers. And I said, oh, I'm selling designer suits in Mexico, because that's what I was thinking about when I visited it. And he's
Yeah.
like, oh, I'll buy 1,000 suits. And that at 22 years old, my friend from Russia was sending me hundreds of thousands of dollars, no contract. And literally for me to go and buy all these suits. And quickly, I had to figure out my first business, right? Because I forgot to say this, but when I graduated college, I sent out 300 resumes to all the like publicity firms in New York who I deal with now, and like everybody, right? And like nobody offered me a job,
Mhm.
right? Because at that time, people weren't like, oh, you should network with your alumni or do all this kind of stuff, right? And I didn't have connections really, or I didn't understand connections,
Mhm.
right?
Well, it
So
goes to show you that, which we know this, the number one way to get a job is actually through your network, not actually through
100%.
resumes.
And
But then it's this
yeah.
misnomer that people think I'm going to send out resumes and I'm doing something, but in effect, you're not. It's a black
No. And I had like 8 internships in college. right?
Mhm.
And I I couldn't stand some of those internships. Like they'd have me do nothing, right? Like just, print papers and file stuff and things like
Style.
that,
Yeah.
right? And
Fax
I
machine.
literally like, but when I went in there, I did the best I could do. I had the best attitude. And every day I left and I said, thank you for the opportunity. Right.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
because you know what? As much as what I say to people, it's so important to know what you don't want to do as
Exactly.
much as what you want to do. And when you're young, do everything because it's going to set you up for your life. Right.
Yeah,
And so
I can't agree with you more. I think that's so true.
yeah. So anyway, so with the Russia thing did really well. I ended up going to, Turkey. I ended up going to Italy and I would go to the factories and I would literally buy all their old stock that the designers didn't want to flood the existing markets.
Mhm.
And literally I would buy 20-foot containers worth of clothes. I would ship them in a 20-foot container, SGS inspected and guarantee shipment to Russia. Right. Because they didn't want us they didn't want us to ever ship it to the other markets. Right.
Yeah.
And I did that for a few years. And after getting some weird, like weird calls and stuff like that about the wrong sizes and stuff like that, like, things like that. And like just crazy calls. I was like, you know what, you could have the business, I gave it to my partner.
Uh-huh.
Hence, I think my partner's now an oligarch, but I don't talk to him anymore. So it's okay. Anyway, so fast forward, I was like, and at that time, I just lived this very, college. And right after college, I just lived this very opulent life. And I was like all over the world. And, I really remember this one point in my life, like, when I was in Russia and I was like deciding to come back to America, I remember saying to myself, wow, like you can take a girl out of the country, but you can't take the country out of the girl. I'm still
Mhm.
that same person that I was. Right.
Well, it's
And
probably that's what makes because you're so approachable and it seems like you're a really good read. Like you can assess a person really well and probably know how you fit in, but you're also just super down to earth. And that's part of being Midwestern.
yeah. And I think it's just like I, as I said, okay, so I moved back to New York, right? Or I moved to New York,
Yep.
and literally, I just had this really like insane life, right? So different from when I grew up in Ohio, right? And
Yes.
that's when, I was walking and I actually like for about a week, I kept bumping into this same homeless guy. And, I kind of would always say
So
hello and
interesting.
how are
Yeah.
you and things. And one day I started talking to him and I remember him saying to me, I make more money here on this corner. It was right at the plaza, right,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
right by the park. And he's like, I make more money here than I could ever make at McDonald's. And,
Mhm.
and it made me think, I want to go volunteer for the coalition, for the homeless. So I researched and I found an organization in New York called Coalition for the Homeless. And I literally dedicated 6 months of my life and I fed 1,000 people a week through this
Yeah.
program where they would take these vans and homeless people would line up and you'd give them like a ham sandwich and a milk and an apple. And like their faces were like, they were so grateful, and I will never forget that. And that inspired me to help homeless people. And that's when I decided to do 2 cookbooks with all the celebrities like Madonna and everybody
Mhm.
and get their favorite recipes. So if you Google like a musical feast or an all-star feast, you'll see these 2 cookbooks I did.
Wow.
And I raised $500,000 for the homeless for the Coalition for the Homeless in New York, and also a program called Empty the Shelters, which was in 6 states in the United States. And I was on Oprah and I was on Howard Stern and all this kind of stuff. And that taught me literally about, and that was before people were tying in celebrities to
Mhm.
charities, it was
Yeah.
way before any of that stuff. And so that really taught me a lot. And that's when I ended up, I was kind of alone in New York, right? And I missed having animals. And I went to our city shelter and I was going to adopt a dog. And I ended up leaving, there with a dog and a cat, right?
Yeah.
And then I started researching, I realized, wow, there's 12 million animals euthanized a year that year. That was in 99.
Wow. Must be
Yeah.
so much
And
better now.
nobody, when you went on to the newsstand, when you looked up things, nobody was talking about rescue or adoption. There was not one celebrity and a pet in People magazine or on TV. Very few ads even had a dog, no TV shows. I mean, I think there was one that had one, right?
Yeah.
And so like literally I thought to myself, wow, what I did in the, helping homeless people, if I could bring celebrities and pop culture to the animal rescue world, we could bring that number to 12 million down, right?
Yeah.
So that's when I decided to create Animal Fair Media. And I created the first magazine to bring celebrities and pop culture to the animal rescue world. Because I knew, because coming from Ohio, I know if people knew you could adopt any breed, any size, any age, they would choose to adopt versus buy, right?
Exactly.
And so literally that was, Vanity Fair, New York Times, Fox, everybody said I brought celebrities and pop culture to the animal rescue world. I created the first ever pet fashion show with rescue dogs dressed up in Burberry and all the things.
Oh, that's amazing.
And literally created the term yappy hour, coined the term pet lifestyle. I did all this stuff, right? And created the magazine. We had Charlize Theron on the cover. We had Halle Berry on the cover. We had Beyonce and her dog on the cover, like all that kind of stuff. I was going across the country, supporting all the local animal rescue groups, raising millions of dollars for animal rescue. 10 books out, 5 TV shows, 3 Guinness World Records, and literally on the Today Show every month, a primetime show on CBS. I then get blessed with a stalker that completely ruined my life. And that's, so that happened around 2011, right around the time like Instagram got hot and things like that. And literally I got a, mentally ill woman. Now, remember, I'm used to mentally ill. I dealt with my family. And I know when people are mentally ill, it's a disease. Like you can't really explain why they are mentally ill, but people sadly, are, and that's why it's so important for people to be positive, find purpose, and work on things, that are going to benefit other people. Because let me tell you something, there's someone, is always worse off than you, and we can always support people. You know what I mean? And so anyway, so fast that, it was a woman, and I found 10 other victims of this woman. And literally she created 50 anonymous email addresses to defame and slander me. And literally the Today Show stopped putting me on. Literally all the sponsors for our animal rescue events stopped sponsoring us, because she would stalk me and see who was sponsoring, who was attending, and I would post, oh, I'm going to be on the Today Show on Monday. Yes. Next thing I know, they have 50 email addresses, emails saying I'm such a bad person, and I stole all the money. Huh?
What was her motive? Just
it's so crazy. She's mentally ill. She was jealous of my boyfriend at the time.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting.
I know. So that's what I'm saying is like, that's why people just need to realize, like, whatever happens in their life, just take a deep breath and say, there's something I'm going to learn from this, and it's going to be a positive. Because that's what, like, really in my life, because I've gone through such crazy stuff in my whole life, I always think that way, right?
Yes.
And you know what? I'm here to say it's true. So after 6 years of dealing with this insane person, where the FBI, the DA, everyone was trying to help me, but the problem was she would go to Starbucks in the library to send the emails. You could never track them. So she was actually a genius, maniacal person, and so if she could put that to good work, she'd be so much better off, Anyway, so fast forward, that all happened, and it ruined my whole entire life in the animal world that I created. And that left me actually, luckily enough, to have more time with my family. So, when my dad was, really ill, I was able to go back home, and he ended up passing away. But like on his deathbed, I was like, thank you for being so crazy. Because if you weren't so crazy, I wouldn't be who I am today. Right.
And I wouldn't be able to understand or have compassion for this.
Exactly. Life. So anyways, that ended up, when my father passed away, I made a commitment to travel to 2 new countries a year, because I love the world, and I love people, and I love cultures and all that kind of thing. And so what happened was it was like the end of the year, and I was like, oh my God, I made that commitment and I've got to do it. So I ended up booking, and the only place that I could use Amex miles was to Honduras.
Interesting.
And I didn't realize it was the murder capital of the world at the time. Oh. I was like, oh, and so
like, why am I going there?
Yeah. And so literally I'm one of those people, I feel like, it's meant to be, I'm going to go, and I'm not going to hang out with the drug lords that are causing it to be the murder capital of the world. Right. And there's always beauty in everywhere and everybody. Right. Okay. So I ended up going there, and that literally changed my life. And that's when I ended up, at a boutique hotel in the jungle with all these people from England that were bird watchers and willing to risk their lives to watch birds. And after 2 days of watching birds, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to go cuckoo in here if I don't get out of here, because
literally cuckoo, like as in for birds.
And the owner of the hotel was like, you got, I know this woman, she's the development director of this organization called Adelante. They provide microloans to poor women. Why don't you go check it out? And that's when I ended up taking that journey and learning all about the statistics of women. At that time, only 1% of venture dollars went to women founders. These women who were getting these microloans were paying them back at a 98% rate. 90% of it went to educate their children, provide for their families, and firsthand, I went to that community and I was able to experience, I was supposed to spend a couple hours. I spent 3 days. I met with all these women. One woman was 72 years old. She had 3 little kids. I'm like, oh my God, how'd you have these 3 little kids,
Yes, exactly.
And she said that her daughter passed away. The husband ran off and she got the $100 microloan from Adelante. And she opened up a window in her hut with a dirt floor, like 1-room hut where she slept with those 3 kids and was selling Cokes and toothpaste and was able to spend the $1 a month, to put those kids through school,
Yeah.
And so that made me come back to New York and say, you know what, I'm going to create a day in the world. Because if we create a day, we're going to create the conversation. And in 2013, when I did this, nobody was talking about women entrepreneurs or women in business. Very little in the media. Very few companies had, women programs. Very few people were doing this, that kind of thing. And that's when I said, okay, I'm going to come back to New York. And I got our governor of New York and our mayor of New York and US Congress to officially proclaim a day, November 19th, as Women's Entrepreneurship Day. And that's when I went around the world to my network, right? To all the people I knew. And I said, who in your country can bring governments, business leaders, civil society together to collaborate, to find solutions to uplift women in business? And the goal to alleviate poverty. Because at the time in 2013, 250 million girls were living in poverty, right? And when you were talking about all over the world, people live in poverty, out of 8 women in America live in poverty, right? So we can't forget, what's going on in the world,
In
right?
our
own community. Yeah. And so anyway, so that's how we are now in 144 countries. We have the most amazing ambassadors, like the one in LA, Katie Chin, who works with governments and do this. And that's the reason why Mayor Garcetti launched a whole program with the government to support women entrepreneurs because of our movement. And he's been an amazing supporter. And that's how we did it. And then on my journey of this whole thing, right? My team in Africa, I learned about a woman who was a goat farmer in Botswana. And I learned, and she created the Satoshi Center in Botswana because in like 2011, I think her son was diagnosed and was literally going to die. And she had to figure out how to get the money to save her son. And on that journey, she learned about Bitcoin. And that's how her son ended up passing out. But in honor of her son, she created the Satoshi Center in like a little hut, like, like a little hut in Botswana, right? And I learned about her to this day. She's now advising their government, like on cryptocurrency. It's super cool. Anyways, so that's what taught me and got me into the whole ecosystem of cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And then I learned early on about Ethereum. And that's how I started investing and advising companies. And that's kind of what led me here today.
Yeah, well, I have to say, it's so amazing. Like, honestly, when we look at all these different things and how the thread kind of combined and you just continued building this, like this map for yourself, this journey.
Oh my God, it's so cool. Like I was just talking. So there's a program called Project Aspire at the University of Oxford. Like I could never get into Oxford. There was no way, right? Like I'm not that smart, right? Like in that way, right? And so it's so funny. So we have an amazing person on that team at University of Oxford. And we were talking about and we were putting together how are all my investments working and things like that. Because I'm investing in some of the most impactful projects in the entire world. Literally, I'm part of the largest regenerative farming project with 6 million farmers in the state of Andhra Pradesh in India. I'm working on so many amazing things, right? And what's so cool about it is everything I invest in, whether it's Base Paws, which is the 23andMe for pets, right? It's all kind of works around everything I've done in my life. Right? It's like this ecosystem that I created is just really, it makes me excited every day that I can just connect all the people I know from my lifetime in supporting some of the most important projects in the world to support animals and people and the environment.
Well, I think that you just said it. It's the community that you built and the impact that you make and the consistency of showing up that creates this continuous thread that connects you to all of these successes. And so, like you said,
Oh, but let's just say this, like, as you
Yeah.
know, like nothing's easy, right? And
course.
and this has been like boom, 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 and like I just laugh because, I kind of say like, I've always had integrity.
Yes.
I've always had integrity. And that's what if I say I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to do it. If I say I'm going to do something, I do it. If I'm going to, if I make a commitment, I stick with that commitment, and that's why I will forever in my life support animal rescue. Forever in my life, I will support, homeless people. I will always support these issues, but, I've gotten smarter as I've gotten older, and I've learned so much is that, like we have a project to fund 100,000 women in Afghanistan. And it was so funny. I was sitting there with in Miami at this Bitcoin conference with all these like Bitcoin maximists. And I was telling them about this project, saying, you got to get in and we're going to fund them. We're going to give money directly, because that's what crypto is. You open up a wallet and we can give it directly to your wallet. Right. And they're like, we're not supporting you. And I'm like, what do you mean you're not supporting me? This is going to be amazing. We're going to create this whole ecosystem, blah, blah, blah. And they said, it's wrong what you're doing. And I said, what do you mean it's wrong? I said, you can't just give them crypto. Like, you need to teach them about crypto. You need to enable them to understand why they are getting this crypto and how they can use this crypto to make a better life for themselves, and teach them that they can create NFTs easy on their phone with no cost to create these opportunities for themselves. Right. And so, so like every day, I say to people, everyone can teach you something, whether it's the driver of your Uber or the taxi, or it's the, it's the woman that cleaned your home, or if it's the whatever, everyone is, has something to contribute. Everyone's an expert in something, you know?
I full-heartedly agree in the same thing. I would always say, like, you think, like, when people say, well, I don't know anybody there, I'm like, anywhere between the janitor and the CEO, there's so many people that can help you. You don't realize.
Yeah.
And also comes back to you.
But I don't always say everyone live with a life of purpose.
I totally.
So whatever you're doing, whether you've got a high-powered job and you're, I don't have time for that. You have time. Are you kidding me? Like, you know what I mean? You can go find something that you care about. Is somebody in your family suffering from cancer? Is somebody in your family, do you love your dog so much you want to save dogs? Do you want, find something.
The more you give, the more you get.
I'm like the living example. I'm like, exactly. I never thought I never have done anything for money. I've never. It's always been, how do I help the world? And I'd always figure out scrappy, like, how do we make this happen? And, I'm because of everything I've done and all that kind of stuff, I now am benefiting from it. And it's amazing because now all I want to do is like now give it back and help and figure out ways that we can make a bigger impact.
Yeah, I love that. So can we peel back the layers a little bit? Because I mean, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, NFT is super hot right now.
Yeah.
And I didn't use that as one of the three things that, I had introduced you in the beginning, but you did put it in at the end of your bio. Yeah. And my question for you is, can you walk us through this opportunity? Because that's what this is about, opportunity knocks.
It's not an opportunity. It's the future.
Yes. Okay.
It's the absolute future. If you don't embrace it, like if you don't embrace it, you're going to be left out. I will give this, because I think this is like the key to this. The mother of this whole industry is Bitcoin.
Okay.
Bitcoin is the most high integrity deflationary financial instrument to provide financial inclusion to everyone. The 2.5, especially the 2.5 billion unbanked, right? It's the first time in history of a decentralized autonomous organization, DAO. That word, DAO, you should know about. It's going to be the future. It's happening, but it's the first successful DAO in history. Why is Bitcoin high integrity? Because the founders didn't care about fame, money, or power. Nobody knows who the founders are. They created a fake name, right? So they have no power or fame, right? The founders have so much Bitcoin, they're billionaires. They've never transferred a Bitcoin or sold a Bitcoin and never will. So the whole ecosystem to what's happening now with NFTs and all these cryptocurrencies and the Dogecoin and the Buckcoin, all this stuff is from the mother, right? And so no matter what, Bitcoin is the most high integrity coin in the world. All right. They'll never print more.
Give me more information on that. Why is that? Because I'm not an expert on it.
Okay. Because the fact is, people don't realize this, but I work on this every day. Millions of people are using Bitcoin in Venezuela, Botswana, Zimbabwe. They have the highest inflation, right? They're now buying it in Russia and Ukraine because of their money. It's like there's war. They can't even, and so literally, Bitcoin is going to be, I believe, the world's currency. And all you need to do is take one Google and start reading in between the lines. At the beginning, right, the banks were scared, the governments are scared. Why? It's threatening because nobody controls it. US can't control it, Russia can't control it, China can't control it, nobody control it. It's decentralized, right? So like Uber is a centralized, autonomous organization.
Yes.
Bitcoin is a decentralized, meaning no one can control it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now, Gen Z, millennials, and people like me, right? We believe in the future of this. We want traceability. We want transparency. We want to know, this computer, was the person that made this computer paid a fair amount of money? Was this computer made with sustainable products, right? Well, that's the future of NFT. Everything in the world will be an NFT in the future, right?
Because what does NFT stand for?
A non-fungible token.
Non-fungible token.
Token. And so what people want to know is, where was this made? Who owned it? Is it sustainable? What did they get paid to make it? What happened to it when it was gone? And that's really what an NFT is. At the start of this is art, right? Because it's easy, right? In history, the provenance of art has never been captured, right? And what the NFTs do is provide that information, right? Just think in your head, the future. Think in the head like that, soon, very soon, when they build buildings, the walls will be video screens. Exactly. Right? You're going to be able to go on a virtual reality through your wall. And you're going to be able to see, you're going to be able to go on a safari, you're going to be able to go on a cruise ship, you're going to be able to do all this stuff, right? And then maybe you want to put on your NFT art on that screen, or maybe you just want to put on the wallpaper, And so just put in your head that this is the future, embrace it, learn as much as you can about it. Go on YouTube. There's so much out there to learn.
How do you get started? So if somebody needs to, there's one thing to educate yourself, right? And you could read books and you could go online and Google and, all those different things. But how does one say okay, I'm ready. I want to get started.
All right, here's my advice. Go on to, and I can give you a link to do this and all this kind of stuff. Go on.
Yeah, we could put it on
invest a little money that you're willing to, lose, and invest it in Bitcoin. All right. And learn how to do that. And then start learning and reading. If you are interested in anything, whether it's the climate, whether it's animals, whether it's fishing, whether it's anything, there is a coin to that. And just start doing your research and find out what you're passionate about. Try to figure out who founded it. Do your little research on, are they helping? What is the impact that they're having? Because this is all available to you. Everything is transparent in this world, right? If the founders don't want, to be known for it, right, you won't be able to, find them, but you'll be able to find the impact they're having. So a lot of the NFTs and a lot of these, are really making a huge impact in this world. People don't realize the importance of crypto, right? Because crypto is traceable, is transparent. As much as you heard of all these nefarious acts happening in the past, that was all the banks and governments putting it out there because they don't want it to be successful. Why?
Because it literally changes their ecosystem.
Yeah, it's a big issue, right? But it's not a big issue. It's giving power to the people. It's enabling peer-to-peer transactions in a secure environment, the blockchain, right? And enabling them to have that, right? And so like if it's on the blockchain, it's there forever. It can't be, it's immutable. You can never change it, right? It's an agreement.
Yes. So, when we look at the portfolio of things that you do, and you say that you work on crypto every day, or tell me, like, how are you dividing your time? Because
Everything I do is like part of everything, right?
yes, like
Everything,
we said, it's
everything I do, like, yeah, everything I do is part of everything. Majority of my time is supporting my foundation, Women's Entrepreneurship Day Organization, because we have initiatives to basically, empower women in business to alleviate poverty. Change does not happen from the top down. As much as they love to be up there talking about how they're making changes and all this kind of stuff, it never trickles down. Change happens from the bottom up, right? Systematic change happens when everybody can participate in it, right? So creating like initiatives like that, and it's so hard because I fight every day. Trust me, it's not easy. I fight for all these big companies to get involved, support us, but but I love the fight, and I love fighting to support. It's not really a fight. It's like, I just try every day to make a difference, whether I help one person.
But you love serving. You love serving others. It comes from your instinct to give back.
Well, I think, it comes back from, would I have loved health when I was younger? Right? When I was going through things, you know what I mean? And so now that I have more, of a capacity to be able to help, I love to help. Right? So charity, the line for charity, I say, is charity is helping those that can never help you.
I love that. Charity is helping those that can never help you.
Right. And you see a lot of, people getting involved with things because they like, they want to be part of the people that are part of those things and things like that, and, or there's a benefit from something else. Mine is like, listen, like, we might not be, we're grassroots, we're not perfect, it's like we have spelling mistakes occasionally, or like, like things like that, you know what I mean? But it's like, we're real. Like what we're working on is real. My Afghanistan project, last 2 Sundays ago, I was like on LinkedIn. I saw somebody post something about an Afghanistan guy that led me to the Amazon of Afghanistan. And I found the founder of that click.af, which is the Afghanistan Amazon. It's small compared to Amazon, but anyways, and I got him to accept crypto. And now those women that get our crypto are going to be able to shop on click.af and be able to use that crypto,
That's amazing.
So it's like, I just feel like, if we all just open up and be more open, when you're open, you subject yourself to bad people, of course, right? But the minute they're bad, goodbye and move forward. Whatever happens in your life.
Sometimes easier said than done, right? I mean, it took you 6 years to get away from the crazy stalker.
Right, but I kept going.
Yes,
I didn't let her bring me down.
That's your gift. Your gift is to keep going.
Well, it's kind of like they say in life, like you're just supposed to forgive, so I just feel, when somebody screws me over, I in my head, I'm like,
I'm the same way.
I'm like, right? Like, did you really just do that? Like, that's why I'm like, really? And I just feel bad for people. I'm like, you know what? You screw somebody over. I believe in karma.
It's the compassionate part of you. You have so much,
and I just like, keep going. Let's do it.
So tell me about, because you spent, like you said, you spend the majority of your time on Women's Entrepreneurship Day. So my question for you is, talk to me about how this all comes to life, because there's so many different initiatives involved in it. There's the one in May that is coming up, and then there's the larger one in November. Are there always only 2 major events a year, or how does one get involved?
We're not just our events, right? These are all over the world. On November 19th, they're happening all over the world. And we have, we're always looking for amazing ambassadors. If anybody's watching this and that they're ready to bring governments, business leaders, and work with a really passionate group of people to really engage your community. And I always tell people it helps you. I mean, my God, you get to connect with everyone and you're really helping and doing things, and it's fun. For me, it's like, there's nothing better than trying to make a difference, And so, we have all these different initiatives, and really what we just ask of everybody is, look at the different initiatives we have on our social impact page, see the stuff. We launched the first ever disability startup cohort for women. Yeah, we just, Google for Grants just funded the whole thing. And so like really working on projects that make a difference, and, always open to new ideas and ways to collaborate, right? We do not donate, what we do is we work on these initiatives to create them, and then we bring in people to fund them.
So when one would come to the event, say in May, okay?
Yeah.
Talk to me about some of the initiatives or some of the opportunities available for people to get involved in that.
So we have our big summit. We're going to have it virtual too. So it'll be virtual so people can just sign up. And if you just go to Women's E-Day, you can see all the information on that.org. But yeah, we are, so we have a big summit where we're basically bringing all these amazing women and honoring them, from Judy Human, who's a human rights disability activist. She's the star of Crip Camp on Netflix, that got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. We've got Kathy Wood, who is the founder of ARK Invest. She's the biggest investor in Bitcoin, SpaceX, Tesla. We've got Nadia Swarovski from the Swarovski family. We've all seen those crystals. We've got some of the most amazing women in the world, and they all come together that day to literally support impoverished women and fund 1,000 impoverished women with microloans to start their entrepreneurial journey.
And so was this like brainchild of yours? Like it was just, do you have a team of people that work on this? Like
we have a lot. Yeah. I call myself like the #1 glutton for punishment. You know what I mean? And like, then I have like a ton of other people that like, yeah, we always look for amazing volunteers. Like we totally need it, but we always look for people that want to contribute.
Yeah.
And I always say to people like, and anyone who knows me knows we all, you benefit greatly.
Yeah. Well, what I would say is just the little bit that, since we've been, working with one another a little bit, I just have to say that you're constantly honoring the team that works with you, to let them know that you're there to support them in any way possible. And really, I do see that component of you that's always wanting to give back, and it's a beautiful quality as a leader.
Thank you. I don't know if I'm a leader, but yeah.
Maybe you don't like to own that part of you, but I don't know how you can't be a leader with everything that you're doing.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. So I'd love to know a little bit more, like when we're talking about investments, so there's a lot of women on this call that, are on the podcast that listen, that are either future female entrepreneurs that are scared to step in, or entrepreneurs themselves. Talk to me about how you assess a company and why you choose to invest in it.
So when I got into investing, I had no idea. And I lost a fortune and I got screwed over. Now I'm an expert.
I love it.
So
I love how you say that so confidently too.
Yeah, like now I'm really good. It's about the founders, right? Second is the company and the technology, right?
Yes.
But like first is the founders. Do they have high integrity? You know what I mean? And that is the key. Where are they going after dinner? Right. And like a lot of that kind of stuff. And I feel like #1, it's the people. And you got to make sure those people are resilient and that they can lead that company, because nothing's easy, nothing, And then secondly, of course, is the technology, and have enough people around you that can assess it for you. Because I'm not an expert, right? So I need to, get that and talk to the other investors. Why did they invest? And did they look at the models, and build your community around that?
So when you're talking about looking at the models, are you talking about the financial models? And why only technology? Why are we only looking at the technology? Because you only invest in fintech companies?
So there's got to be a technology element, okay, to what I invest in. Only reason why is I feel like, that, the people today, it's a tough market, right? So everything we're doing now, whether, I invested in Tooth and Tails, it's the healthiest dog treats in the world using microbiome, right? So using that technology, so everything has to have some type of technology bend to it, only because I know, too much about how it's important that you're able to operate these things without needing a lot of people.
Well, yeah, because I mean, the future is, everything is digital as far as like how we purchase, how we interact with not only the product, but the people, right?
Yeah. I mean, so like when I invested in Producers Market, which is the marketplace to connect farmers with retailers, when we work with this project in India with 6 million farmers, we're enabling those farmers to earn more money and
Mhm.
have a more seamless way to be doing business, right? So it's like we're benefiting, everyone's benefiting in every way with this and what
Yeah.
I invest in.
What would you say, I know you kind of touched on this a little bit, like, earlier when you were kind of taking us through
Yeah.
your journey,
Yeah.
I mean, you've interacted with so many female entrepreneurs. What
Right.
would you say that their key characteristics are, like, that have allowed them to be successful?
Resilience, positive, you have to want to talk to those people. All right. I feel like it's kind of like getting married, right? Like you literally, if you're going to invest in that, if I'm going to invest in somebody, I want to be part of that company. I want to be
Mhm.
part of that whole ecosystem because I want to be able to, open up my network and enable them to accelerate their growth quickly. Right. Because that's what I bring to the table. That's what I do.
Yeah. So would you say things like, you said positivity, you said resilience?
Oh, yeah, positively, they have to have a purpose, like, why are they doing this?
Mhm,
Like, I
what's
don't
the
get
why?
involved with anything that's not impactful.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That it's not about making the money always, that it's
Well, it's,
actually has,
they gotta make
they have
money,
to make money, but
but
it's
they have
more.
to be sustainable,
Mhm.
right? But yeah, definitely, it's more, that there has to have, they definitely need to have, because when somebody has impact, they really care about what they're doing.
Absolutely. It's so true. Walk me through one of the most exciting, like, what are you most proud of? Like, when we talk about like purpose and your why, like, what would you say, like, walk me through something that you're most proud of in your entire career? Because you've had so many successes.
Everything. I wouldn't even everything. You know what I
Really?
mean? Like literally there's not, I'm so grateful for everything, every failure, every success, everything. Because it's what brought me here today.
Interesting. And what would you say to like future female entrepreneurs that want to bring an idea forward?
Wow. What I would say to them is literally do all your homework. You know what I mean? That there's so much information online for whatever you need, whatever you're trying to do, blah, blah, blah. Do a competitive analysis. Make sure before you start, where do you fit in that ecosystem,
Mm,
right?
it's so
And
true.
and put an amazing advisory board together. I
Mhm.
get so many people calling me, oh my God, will you invest? Can you connect me and all this kind of stuff? And I'm like, bring out an advisor,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
A little of something big is a lot better than a lot of nothing.
I love that. A little of
Right?
something
Right?
big is better than a lot of nothing. You're just dropping words of wisdom everywhere, Wendy. I love it. I
Well,
love it.
sadly, I got through all the, whatever on that. But yeah, so thank you,
Yeah.
for
So,
having me on here.
of course. So, what I'd love to do is if you can actually leave people with ways that they can actually get in touch with you and ways that they could get involved with Women's Entrepreneurship Day. I know obviously they can contact me. We're doing sponsorships for the tables in May in New York.
And
It
by
will
the
be
way, there is never a better place to be than there. It is the most beautiful environment that you'll ever be in. It's fun. I think you kind of tell it with me. I just was
everything you do as with the capital F.
yeah, like I just like I love bringing kookiness to everything because I feel like people, I want to see the people smile and laugh and have fun. But the most important, I want them to walk out of there and realize they made a huge difference in the world.
I love that. And that, like you said, knowing what your why is and sharing that and serving others is the greatest gift.
No, no, totally.
Yeah. So tell people how they could reach you and
Oh, okay,
how
yeah.
they
The
can.
easiest way, to find me, and I was smart enough to do this a long time ago, was just go to wendydiamond.com.
Okay.
And if you go to wendydiamond.com, there's a link to Animal Fair. There's a link to Women's Entrepreneurship Day. There's a link to all the companies I've mentioned on this call. And there's a way to contact me right there as well.
Okay, awesome. And then are you on Instagram as well?
Yep. I love dogs, Wendy Diamond.
Okay, got it. So I really want to thank you for your time today. And I just want you to know how much and how important it is that you shared this wisdom with so many women that are out there that are looking to get started or looking to continue. And one of the key things that you mentioned was resilience. And I can't honor that word enough, because you're right, ups and downs every day of entrepreneurship, highs and lows. And feelings come and feelings go, as I say.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah. Like, it's like everything is a positive. When you fail, it's just going to teach you something for the next thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I have so much gratitude for you, and I look forward to continuing working with you and sharing more
Woo-hoo!
fun. All right, Wendy,
Grateful.
have a great day.
Thank you, Michelle.